and what's really kind of popping for you, and perhaps is even challenging for you. And as you pay attention to that, that hopefully you come away this evening with something very concrete to do to restore the trust in your own relationship, or to maybe strengthen it. Maybe you don't need to restore it, but you need to strengthen it. And I like what uh, Auntie Benford said, trust and restoration is possible with God's help. Well, 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 that's true.
So for many of people, y'all, so did we introduce ourselves?
I don't think so.
Okay, so my name is Ayiza, and this right here is my incredible wife, Dion.
That was a good choice. You should about try to go on me because
I was, because you're a little bit irritated right now.
So what you gonna go on me for?
Because I'm a little bit irritated with the fact that you're irritated. How about that? So yeah, so
this is real life now.
Real life relationship. So we don't just talk this thing, but we walk it every single day. We're licensed therapists. We got 5 children. We've been married now for 17 years, together for 24. And we're doing this relationship thing every single day. So we enjoy each other. We love each other. We booed up and hugged up and bunned up with each other. And the reality is that relationships themselves, they experience peaks and valleys and challenges and roundabouts and U-turns and all of that type of good stuff. And so, you know, it is what it is. 529 said neutral corners, y'all. Yeah, we're gonna be in neutral corners for the duration of this live stream. So everything is all well, all good. I might have made some comments. My wife might have made some comments that irritated me. So
I didn't make no comments that irritated you.
So it was all my comments.
It's all you. I'm just saying, for real. For real. Okay, so anybody who's watching tonight, or whether you're watching later on, anybody had some difficulty with trust in your relationship, whether it comes out of some perhaps betrayal that has happened, or perhaps it's just kind of what you bring to the relationship. You know what I mean? Like you just come not trusting, and you have some challenges around that. Let us know. Just put some hearts out there, some likes. I see you, Joe, on YouTube. I think that it's important for us to know that one of the goals of any good couple in a committed relationship, and a strong, solid relationship, should be not only to build your own trust with one another, but to also build your internal trust. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean, your internal trust? That means that, you know what, this one right here may not always be reliable for me. I may not always come through for him in the way that he's looking for me to come through. It is inevitable that when 2 human beings come together, that I'm going to come up short, and that he's not going, do what he's supposed to do at times, right? And that we're going to disappoint one another. And so I think it's really important to start out tonight by saying that we're talking about trust between 2 people and how to restore that trust, but you already are starting at a disadvantage, and you're already behind the 8 ball if you are looking to restore your soul and repair your heart and rebuild your confidence and all of that from whatever happened in the past relationship, or whatever you experienced as a little kid or whatever. If you are looking for all of that to happen through your relationship, you got to bring something to the table. And that means that you got to do your own work first. And you got to just, basically look at what do I bring? Am I already, suspicious of people off the top? Am I already suspect? I'm saying myself? What are you bringing personally to the trust game in your relationship that can strengthen the relationship, but also can be a disservice to your partner, because they come and step in perhaps solidly, and you already looking at them sideways because you are predispositioned to think that way. Or perhaps they are stepping sideways. Perhaps they're not coming the way they're supposed to, but you got the blinders on and you just ignore it and disregard because you were already predispositioned to dismiss and discount that because you still press for things to be okay. So I want us to understand that while we are focusing tonight on building trust in the relationship, you have to first understand what is your framework, what is your mindset, what is your trust makeup? You know what I'm saying? Like what are you bringing in terms of strengths, in terms of vulnerabilities, and disadvantages, in terms of how you approach the trust game in your relationship in the first place?
The charger for this is right there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and so I really do think, baby, that we should just park there and focus on self. I think that that's
We
an
can do
excellent
it.
way to start. No, I mean we can focus more on self.
We got 5 things to
And
get through.
yeah, we got 5 things to get through, but if we focus more on self and identify 5 things, then the reality is that that's a good starting place for people to understand what's necessary in order for them to rebuild trust in a relationship. You can't rebuild trust, y'all, if you don't first focus on you. And that's just the truth of the matter. It's the truth of the situation. And so, when it comes to being in a relationship,
Thank you, Benny.
the reality is that we oftentimes get hurt. And a lot of us step into relationships from a space of brokenness, which we discourage you from doing, but it's almost inevitable that you're going to be entering into a relationship of some pain, some past hurt that has impacted you in such a way that it's showing up in your current relationship. And so with that in mind, it's important that you recognize that you got some work that you need to do in order to heal yourself first so that you can be your best self for the relationship. If you don't do that, then what ends up happening is that you drag the relationship down as you exist in a relationship to the best of your ability. And when it comes to this whole trust piece, though, what I want us to pay attention to is the fact that when you're having challenges with trust in your relationship, a lot of that is undergirded and rooted in the fact that you don't really trust yourself. It's rooted in the fact that you don't really trust yourself. And so we just start with that premise that a lot of the trust issues in relationships are self-trust issues. Then we can examine that this evening and give you 5 things that you can do to shift or at least better understand how you're getting in the way of a better relationship by not trusting yourself in the relationship that you're currently in. Does that make sense, Sean? Let me see some hearts or some likes if that makes sense. How you need to focus on self in order to improve the quality of your relationship and how self-trust could be negatively impacted or the lack thereof could be negatively impacting your ability to trust in your current relationship.
And it's self-trust, but it's also how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem. Joe on YouTube says, how do I stop from always asking too many questions, right? When we get kind of uber focused on asking a bunch of questions and trying to ascertain, like what did you do and what happened and who said what and where was it? When did you get here? What time, right? Like all that kind of stuff. Not all the time. Sometimes it's for good reason, right? And so you just need to be on your detective mode because somebody has earned that on some level. Um, but a lot of times it's because there's a sense of not feeling confident in yourself, not feeling confident in what you're bringing to the relationship, unsure and uncertain about the value that you have for your boo. Like, are they feeling me? Or are they not? Are they with me? Or are they not? And so instead of really getting in touch with how you feel about yourself and whether or not you feel wanted by your partner, valued by your partner, loved by your partner, instead of focusing on that, what you do is you then start to do a lot of questioning about what they're doing, where they are, what's going on. And the reality is that there's something missing within you. And on some level, perhaps they can meet some of that need for you. That is possible. But fundamentally, the bottom line is that you have to meet that need for yourself. You have to meet that need for yourself that I'm okay, I'm good enough, I'm all right, even if I don't feel all right, and not look for someone else to fill you up in that way.
Okay, so number one, y'all. So in order to restore trust in your relationship, you got to focus on self. And so how do you focus on yourself? How do you build the trust within yourself? So number one is to recognize that all human beings have some issues, have some flaws, have some challenges.
Right.
And if you can embrace or at least accept the reality that, and I wouldn't even necessarily call it flaws, it's just being human. I think that we exist within a cultural context, especially when you start to incorporate religiosity and sometimes spirituality in it, then we embrace an idea that this whole born in sin, or I'm a bad person, or I'm wrong, or I'm flawed, that's really the paradigm of the universe. But I think that we're just being. Truthfully, we're just being. So it's not a fact, or it's not an issue that we're flawed, we're just being. And so with that being said, what that means is that people are going to step left, people are going to step right, people are going to make mistakes, people are going to be in alignment with what it is that you want them to do, but we're all living our lives. And so if you can, number one, first and foremost, acknowledge, accept, and embrace the idea that everything ain't going to go the way that you want it to go. People are going to hurt you, intentionally as well as unintentionally.
Right.
And so when you can accept that idea and embrace that, then what you realize is that it's really par for the course. It's a part of life. And so even in your intimate partner relationship, like this queen right here, she don't always like make me feel the best. She don't. I don't always make her feel the best. I say some things sideways that hurt her feelings. She might say some things sideways that hurt my feelings. And that's just the reality. And even above and beyond what she may say, just in terms of the way that she shows up, she's showing up. She has a history prior to me. I have a history prior to her, which is impacting how I flow in this relationship as well as how she flows. And so again, I have to accept the reality that she is who she is and I am who I am. And we're going to bring our stuff to the relationship. And so when we do that, then we recognize that we got issues. We got issues that are really a part of being human. And it's okay.
So look, so number two is a really important piece here. So if we know that having issues, whether it be yourself or your partner, is a part of the relationship game, then that doesn't mean you just stuck with it. Like, oh, well, he gonna have issues, so just accept it. But she gonna have her stuff, so you just gonna have to deal with it. Sometimes, in some ways, in some situations, that may be a part of the scenario, but that's not what we're suggesting to you. What we're saying is this: you have to be ready to address it. And so the way that you can build trust in your relationship is to make sure that you express your feelings. Express your feelings. Like really express your feelings. That doesn't mean that you get to pop off, you get to say whatever you want to say. Express them functionally, especially when it's tough. It's very easy to be kind of fake, to kind of be agitated. Something happened and both of y'all are kind of pretending, or you got that little barrier, that wall up in between the two of you where you're not really fully expressing how you feel. There's quiet. Maybe somebody says a little bit of something, but you're pretending that everything is fine. Neither of you are letting the other person in. And when you do that and you get into a habit of that, neither of you are really letting the other person connect to the real you. And when that happens, what you do is you really stunt the growth of your relationship, because you ain't saying nothing about what you really feel. So there's two extremes. There's the kind of pretending that everything is okay, or maybe saying a little something and letting it go and not really fully leaning into what's happening for you. And then the other side of it is kind of popping off and wilding out and just going to the 10th degree, and not having any self-regulation and ability to control your mouth and your energy and your feelings so that you can be productive in your conversation and not just accusatory and emotional by itself. So, remember that many of us have taken cues about how we show up in our relationships, whether you realize it or not. Whether you realize it or not, many of us are taking cues from our parents. If you were to go and we gave you an assignment this week to go to your mommy and your daddy's house, whether they're together or not, right? And go holler at them and ask, perhaps ask one of them, how did you experience mommy? How did you experience daddy? You're going to hear yourself up in there. Because you have taken the cues about how you show up in your relationship, even if it's unbeknownst to you, from your parents. And we have to really, really give our partners the opportunity to touch in with ourselves, which means that they can only go as far as we have gone. If we are not self-aware, if we don't know that we kind of shut down, or we kind of pop off, or we feel threatened or criticized very easily, or whatever it is, then we can't give them the benefit of knowing some of that about ourselves, so that they can, be very sensitive in how they approach us, and that y'all can partner together in terms of like I tell my husband, I've said it for many, many years, I know that I'm sensitive. I'm a very sensitive soul. So I know that about myself. So if you say something to me, I might hold on to it for a minute. And just because I have the insight don't mean that I'm going to be over it. Because when we're done with this live stream, I'm still about to talk to him about some things that he said to me before this live stream.
If I allow you to talk to him.
We're going to talk. If you allow me to. So we're going to talk after this, because he's saying some things. And some of that may be because I'm a bit sensitive, but also some of that is out of his awareness, because he doesn't express what he needs a lot of times. And he want to come and say something to me. And you have an issue with something, and I'm like, dude, like, all you have to do is open up your mouth and say what you need, and then you want to make me responsible for something? No, I'm not here for that. Open up your mouth and say what you need. That irritates the mess out of me. You been doing the same thing for however long, and all of a sudden I'm have a problem with. If you got a problem, then open up your mouth. What the heck you sit up here? I'm doing the same thing I've been doing for the last however long.
This is a really good.
You know what I'm saying? It's not really, and you have an issue with that, where you will put things onto me and say, well, I'm doing that. Well, then say something. Let me know what you need. But then turn around and make me responsible. No, bruh. It don't work like that. So at the end of the day, we have to be willing to say what it is that we need. I tend to be pretty out there with what I need. He tends to hold it in and not say what he needs, or just have a habit of being like, I got it. Now I could be, which I have been in the past, codependent with you, and okay, let me try to help you because I know you don't necessarily get what you need, and you're always taking care of me, not taking care of yourself. But you know what? As I take care of him, I can take care of you by being honest and saying to you, it's not my job to try to read your mind. You grown. You need to do that for yourself. You know what I mean? And so I in all kinds of ways, I am trying to be attentive to you, but I feel some type of way when I'm just kind of over here. Have I said to you, with all the things we've been going through this past week, all the different things that we've been working on, have I said, dang, you know what I'm saying? You told me I need you to take the lead on some things. When you told me I need you to take the lead on something, I've been pushing, staying up on that. I said, I'm really a little irritated that you go to bed and I'm sitting down here. Have I said that? No, I ain't said that. But you're going to say I'm setting up by myself. Really, dude? You and your feelings about that? Okay. But I let you be you because I know what I do and I'm good. I know what you do. But anyway, we let that stuff get all up on here. So at the end of the day, what was the point? Express your feelings functionally, especially when it's tough. I had a little extra right there, so I will hold myself accountable. There was a little too much energy there. That was not necessarily a good example. I am in my feelings a little bit.
So how could that have been done more effectively?
Well, the first thing that I typically do is I don't even address it in the moment because I know that I'm a hothead a little bit. So I just hold off and let that thing pass for a minute. So that's number one. If you know that if you're like me and you can get a little fiery too quick and you need some time to pass, then let the time pass. And then secondly, don't talk about what the other person has done. Because that's what I just did. You did this and you did that, and did I say this? That's not helpful, right? Because that's accusatory, and that's not helpful. But the more effective thing is exactly what we're talking about here: expressing your feelings. How does it make me feel?
So why don't you go over there and sit down? Let me do that first. So you can listen to me. You need to learn from me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. What is it that we just talked about? What do you need to learn? I just
talked about. I said, own it, sis.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So, what was the question?
What you need to own?
I don't know.
Oh, see, that's the problem. Let's move on so we can get to the end of this live stream so we can get on the other side of this and have some conversation. So if you're just joining us tonight, we're talking about how to restore trust in your relationship, really how to build that up in your relationship. And we just talked about being able to express your feelings, stop holding stuff in, not being real, not telling the truth about how you feel, right? Because when you try to hold back from that, it doesn't serve anybody at all. That was number two. What was number one?
Number one was to recognize that everybody comes into the world and has challenges.
Yeah.
And so it's baggage that they bring into the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Number three. If you're with us, we want you to share this video. Please share this video.
All right. So number three, y'all. So what we want you to do is when it comes to this whole relationship dynamic, if you've been betrayed, be careful about projecting your past hurts, ideas, thoughts, experiences onto your partner. And so a lot of times we have a lot of baggage that, again, we bring into the relationship, and we may be anticipating some pain.
Mm-hmm.
We may be anticipating some hurt based off of past experiences and making assumptions that our partner is going to do the same thing that somebody else did to us. Mm-hmm. And so you have issues, or you have internalized pain that, again, you're projecting onto your partner when really they're not the source, they're not the root. And so you need to be mindful of the fact that this is a possibility of what it is that you're doing, and then redirect those emotions or even that thought process and recognize that this is my stuff. And again, you're owning it. This is my stuff and not theirs. And so when you come with the intensity, when you come with the passion, when you come with the heat, and you make it about somebody else, or you make it about your partner, and you begin blaming your partner about something they did or did not do, again, how much of your stuff is up there in the picture? And so, when I'm coming to my wife, as you all just saw, is coming at me. How much of what she's experienced in the past has been triggered in that relationship? And so she's bringing me the heat. But do I really deserve it? Mm-hmm. And so again, it's really about taking ownership of who you are, where you are, and why you might possibly be showing up a particular way, and being mindful that you're not projecting your stuff onto your partner.
Yes. Okay, so that was number 4.
That was number 3.
That was number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, that was number 4. Okay. Okay, so we're talking about building trust. One of the things that I think it's really kind of overlooked and underestimated when it comes to building trust is the role of respect. And, when you are building trust up again in your relationship, you really have to understand that respect is a non-negotiable. What is a non-negotiable? Everyone should have in their relationship some things that are non-negotiable. Ashley, Christina, Erska, Yvonne, if I was to come up to any of you all and I said to you, what's your non-negotiable in your relationship? You should be able to answer that pretty quickly and let me know, like, this right here, this particular thing is a non-negotiable, which means that there are some things that I am not willing to accept. There are some things that I'm not here for, that I cannot tolerate, based on my values, based on my commitment to myself, and based on how much I love myself and my dedication to making sure that I demonstrate my love for myself, not that I just say that I love myself. And so when our partner disrespects us by belittling us, maybe talking in a condescending way, being disrespectful with tone, and perhaps sometimes by not really showing up, by kind of abandoning the conversations and not being around, and kind of leaving you to kind of carry things on your own. All those things indicate to your partner that the trust is not a priority, that we're not going to really go to the next level, because I don't even think that it's important enough for me to make sure that I am showing respect. And the bottom line is this: as you're trying to rebuild your trust, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing or not doing, can this be perceived in a way that I'm being disrespectful? And that may be difficult. You know what I'm saying? That might be difficult, but you got to really ask yourself, can my partner perceive me as being disrespectful? Because respect is really important when it comes to building trust. It makes it very difficult to build it over time if there's no respect. Mm-hmm. If you don't respect me, I don't respect you, or I perceive that you don't really respect me, then I'm not even really connected into building or rebuilding what it is that we've developed over time. Mm-hmm. So pay attention to that, because there are things that sometimes that we do, there are comments that we make, there's energy that we give, eyes that we roll, different kinds of things that happen, the subtle things that demonstrate disrespect that we don't recognize impact our partner significantly. And it really threatens the ability to rebuild the trust. It really does. So recognize the role of respect.
The role of respect, but in addition to that, number 5, the role of honesty. Mm-hmm. We can't rebuild trust. We can't restore trust if you're trying to cover the truth with a lie. Mm-hmm. And so it's really important that if you've done any misdeeds, if you've impacted your relationship, your spouse, in such a way where you've hurt them because you've been dishonest, it's really imperative that you tell the truth. Put it all out there.
So y'all like, we
not all that. You become clean. You really become clean. Lay that thing out there on the table. Be upfront and honest, and let them know that you did what you did. Mm-hmm. That you did what you did. And so it's difficult for you. When y'all hear that, I'm curious to know, like, what are some of your thoughts? The fact that the expectation is that in order for you to heal from hurt in the relationship, that you have to be honest about your responsibility or your role in causing the hurt. What are y'all thoughts about that? Would you agree? Let me see some hearts if you agree.
And you know what? You're going to get some agreement. And a lot of us agree. But it's easier said than done. We can agree, but when it comes to sitting in front of your partner and really owning, the places where you have not shown up, it's hard. It's hard because it's called humble pie. It's called being humble, showing some humility, saying, I don't have it all together and I got some things I need to work on. Mm-hmm. I know that for myself. I know that to be true for myself. I know that to be true for my husband. So, But that's really important. If you think about your relationship and you think about your trust, and kind of where it is on a scale of 1 to 10, and you think about your ability to be honest, and if your honesty is kind of jacked, you haven't really been fully honest about how you feel about certain things, about how you have been in certain situations, right? Like, when's the last time you just been bone, straight, just cold honest? Like, when is that a normal thing? Right. And not just from a place of being honest about, I'm gonna tell you what I think, right? The things that come easier to us, but I'm gonna tell you how I feel, right? Like how I feel. And that can be a little more difficult to do. But honesty is an imperative.
And so not just honesty in the sense that this is what I did to impact you and impact the relationship, but also be honest with yourself if you're the victim. How have you raised your hand and signed up for a particular role in this relationship? How have you embraced or adopted a certain narrative? So you have to be honest with yourself in terms of how you play your part. How you play your part in terms of doing this dance. And so even if you have been the victim, it's important that you recognize that that's not a role that has to remain a constant. And so when you realize that, you can shift that dynamic and approach the relationship from a more empowered place, then what happens is that the balance in the relationship shifts and it probably becomes more equal footing. And so your partner then respects you more. You also, but most importantly, you respect yourself more. You respect yourself more. So again, it's important that you shift the narrative in terms of your perception of yourself and how you see the relationship and how you might assume or take a stance of being a victim. In addition to that, it's also important for the person who's the perpetrator. Own your stuff, man. Own your stuff. Acknowledge and really take responsibility for what it is that you did. And I'm not saying just give pieces. I'm saying give it all. Give it all. Yeah. If they ask questions, you'll never be able to answer, which is a tricky situation. You'll never be able to answer enough questions for them to feel satisfied. But their satisfaction is not your issue. Your issue is standing in the truth. And so if they're asking the question, then stand in the truth. Let them deal with the fact that they keep on coming back to you asking questions. That's their issue. Because once you've given the truth, you've given the truth.
Yes, that was good. That was good. Guys, I hope that tonight has been helpful for you all, particularly those who are building trust, rebuilding trust. Maybe you realize that, maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe it's something that you really need to pay attention to, but it can happen. You can rebuild trust over time if you're intentional, if you are making sure that you are paying attention to all the dynamics that exist between you and your partner, and you ain't just out here doing whatever, thinking that, oh, we're going to have a great relationship and it's going to get back to where it was. It will never get back to where it was. Let me just say that. Never, never. It will never get back to where it was. It has to go through a process so that you can be better than where you were before. Yeah, did you know that? You can be better than where you were before. So remember that. You have to do your work. Stop looking at your partner. Stop paying attention to what they're doing and what they're not doing. And pay attention to what you have to do differently. If you are in the DC metro area, it's going down tomorrow night. We want you to come out. We saw a couple of comments tonight that some of you all have seen When They See Us, the limited series on Netflix by Ava DuVernay. It is a very powerful, true story about 5 boys who got caught up in the criminal injustice system. And it is riveting. And it really kind of messes your mind up a minute. But you know what? I want to say this for those who feel like I don't want to go there. If you don't want to go there, you're constantly protecting yourself from going there because you don't want your mind to be messed up for a minute. Then let me tell you something. There's some work you need to do, because it's important for us to really get in touch with some of the things that are happening in our community in the past, now, and they're still happening every day.
Yeah.
So if you're in the DC metro area tomorrow, June the 7th at 7 p.m., right in DC at Union Temple Baptist Church, we will be screening the first episode of the film. We'll have a panel discussion with our son, Asante Black, as well as someone from the Innocence Project and Chris Turner, who is a formerly wrongfully incarcerated person who spent 24 plus years in jail and was released on parole. The other person's who were involved with him and got caught up in this wrongful incarceration are still in jail. This all happened in D.C. We also have Hamani Wilson, who is the director of the Manhood Training Program at Union Temple Baptist Church. He'll be on the panel as well. I think I said the Innocence Project, right? So it's going to be good discussion, community discussion. And we'll be moderating. And we'll be moderating the panel. And we are looking forward to it. So, hey, show up. Show up for yourself in your relationship. Show up for yourself in your community. You can't do none of this stuff, y'all, if you don't stop playing.
Let's start pushing.
Peace, y'all.
All right, y'all. Peace.
See y'all. Hope to see you tomorrow.
We will not be going live during the event. At least I don't think we will.
Yeah, I mean, it might come on and pop on, but not to capture the whole event. So we don't have that quite set up. But we will definitely be kind of giving some clips and pictures and so forth. So if you're not following us on Facebook, please do that. YouTube. We love y'all. We'll see you next time. Peace, peace.
Peace, y'all.
Thanks, Keish. I see that. I see that.
Kia.
Oh, Kia. I see that. Okay.